at midday, the world mourns the loss of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin.
We will tell you what Rabin's death means to the local Jewish community coming up in a live report.
And Americans say they're ready for a third political party, but are they ready for President Perot?
Plus, Silvester Stallone talks about his rocky love life. You'll hear from Hollywood's highest paid actor coming up.
And call in and talk to family therapist Dr. Jonni Gonso.
6 News at midday starts now.
Coverage making a difference for Indiana. Now, WRTV 6 News.
The world pauses to honor slain Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. 2 days after an assassin's bullet claims the life of a man who's best described as a warrior for peace. Rabin's body was laid to rest this morning during a state funeral in Jerusalem. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Doran.
And I'm Karen Rowe. Yitzhak Rabin is gone, but his legacy of peace lives on.
Dignitaries from around the world are in Israel this morning, honoring the man who created a new reality in the Middle East.
Rabin was laid to rest this morning in a Jerusalem cemetery. Vince Robinson joins us live from our newsroom with more on this story. Vince.
Karen, those in attendance are calling the ceremony a remarkable event. It not only brought together leaders from the West, but also leaders from the Arab world. The funeral began with a 2-minute siren in tribute to the man who led Israel in war and in peace. There was an unprecedented turnout for the ceremony, including Arab leaders like Egyptian President Mubarak, seated next to President and Mrs. Clinton, and Jordan's King Hussein, who spoke fondly of Rabin.
You lived as a soldier. You died as a soldier for peace. And I believe it is time for all of us to come out openly and to speak our piece.
President Clinton's remarks took a personal tone.
To all the people of Israel, the American people mourn with you in the loss of your leader, and I mourn with you, for he was my partner and friend. Look at the leaders from all over the Middle East and around the world who have journeyed here today for Yitzhak Rabin and for peace. So let me say to the people of Israel, even in your hour of darkness, his spirit lives on, and so you must not lose your spirit.
The world leaders in attendance today seem to agree that the best memorial for Rabin is for the Middle East peace process to continue. Karen, now back to you.
All right, thank you, Vince. Well, locally, the Jewish community continues to mourn the loss of Prime Minister Rabin. Last night, hundreds turned out to the Beth El Sadiq synagogue for a local memorial service. Indianapolis Mayor Steve Goldsmith was on hand to honor the fallen leader. Rabbi Sandy Sasso joins us now live from the north side. Rabbi, can you tell us, what does Yitzhak Rabin's death mean to the local Jewish community?
Well, this is a very sad day for the Jewish community in Indianapolis and really around the world, because a great leader of the Jewish people has died, has been assassinated, and we all mourn with his family and with the people of Israel, for he was truly a grand architect of peace.
What about the peace process? What do you think will happen now?
Well, as has been said in many eloquent words during the funeral, the hope is that the peace process will continue. That is his legacy, and in so many ways, we hope to continue that vision for peace that he brought about through his great courage and great vision. And it seems the very fact that 2 Arab leaders sat at his funeral and spoke so many beautiful words indicates that there is still hope for peace in the Middle East.
Certainly there is a lot of confusion and concern over the fact that the assassin was a Jew. What do you make of all that?
Well, that is a great tragedy. We are certainly sad because a great leader has died, but there is a greater degree of sadness because this great leader was killed by one of his own people. What do we tell our children who ask us, how is it possible that another Jew would kill a Jew? We don't know this in our history. And so we mourn that, and we pray that the rhetoric of hate that helped produce this terrible act will cease, and we will have civil discourse with one another so that we can bring about a time of greater understanding and a time of shalom.
Rabbi Sasso, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Kevin?
Two Monroeville High School students are dead following a fiery single-car crash in Morgan County. The accident happened yesterday afternoon on Gordon Road, about 5 miles west of Mooresville. Investigators believe the driver, 16-year-old Victor Collins, lost control of his car and slammed into a tree. Witnesses say the car then burst into flames. Collins and one of his passengers, 15-year-old Bruce Henderson, were killed. The person who lives across the street from the wreck managed to rescue the third person in that car. He was on the run for a decade, and now the man accused of being the state's #1 deadbeat dad will find out if it's time to pay for his alleged crime. Bobby Lee Helms Jr. will appear in a Morgan County courtroom today. He'd been on the run for 10 years from his family and police. Authorities say Helms owes nearly $26,000 in support payments to his children. If found guilty, Helms could get 3 years in prison.
Well, it was a big weekend for Indiana Senator Richard Lugar and his run for the White House. Lugar finished second in a Maine straw poll and beat Republican frontrunner Bob Dole. Now, even though Texas Senator Phil Gramm won the poll, Lugar's campaign considers second place a big victory.
Dick Lugar can, when he gets to know people, earn a large part of the vote, especially in Bob Dole country.
Lugar spent last night campaigning in New Hampshire. His campaign manager expects the second-place finish to help the senator's fundraising efforts. Well, the weekend was not so kind to possible third-party candidate Ross Perot. A Washington Post poll finds Americans ready to support a third party, just not Perot's. The survey reports 63% of Americans say they would support the formation of a third political party. 56%, though, are opposed to Perot's new Reform Party. The poll also contains good news for Republicans. 55% of Americans say the GOP best represents their views. Only 1/4 of the sample identifies with Democrats.
Well, you know, the business climate in urban America has its ups and its downs. Boy, here's one of the downs. Huge clouds of dust formed as the 9-story Milner Hotel was imploded yesterday in Louisville. The 84-year-old building is being demolished to clear the way for expansion of the Commonwealth Convention Center. The Milner Hotel was built in 1911 and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It closed 10 years ago. Those implosion pictures are always good.
Yeah. Well, it's not Adrienne anymore. So who is it? Well, Stallone talks about his love life coming up next on 6 News. You didn't think I'd do that, did you?
I did. Good for you. Plus, you'll hear from Colts rookie sensation Kent Dilger following yesterday's game with the Buffalo Bills.
I'm Dr. Dean Adele. Coming up, what dogs do and your health.
And come on in. Welcome to the Weather Office. We've already accomplished something today that we did not accomplish over the weekend. I'll let you know what that is. Well, it looks bigger this way when I'm out front. Back after this.
So long, twist ties. Now there's new Glad trash bags with quick tie flaps. So easy to close, so hassle-free, they've turned twist ties into trash. Try Glad trash bags with new quick tie flaps. Ties are out. Flaps are in.
Hi, I'm Tony DeMont, and I'm funkin'.
And I'm Cindy Wine, and I'm groovin'.
And together we're funkin' and groovin'.
Who's your Hot 96 new morning mix?
Playing the fattest hits and funkiest jams.
And getting you into the groove with the latest in entertainment news.
Check us out mornings
Slip into the mix.
on the funkin'.
Groovin'.
Who's your Hot 96 morning mix?
Funkin' groovin', Hot 96.3. Funkin' groovin', Hot 96.3. Funkin' groovin', Hot
Funkin' groovin'. Who's your Hot 96?
Social Security isn't just for people ready to retire. The Social Security programs pay benefits to the seriously ill or injured, no matter how young or old. If you believe you're disabled or need help with a Social Security claim, call attorney Tom Ebbinghaus, a lawyer who can help with Social Security law. Even if you've been turned down, he may be able to help. Call Collect 317-465-1200. If you have a disability claim and feel you need professional help, call attorney Tom Ebbinghaus at 317-465-1200.
We're doing nice things at Andy's. Doing nice things for people and the cars they drive.
6 News is closed caption, and that's making a difference for the deaf and hearing impaired. Kendrick Memorial Hospital and the Regional Center for Colon and Rectal Care are proud to sponsor closed captioning on 6 News.
He had the perfect wife. They looked beautiful. Now he's watching her self-destruct. What is happening to you?
You have a problem. I am not an addict.
Driven to drug addiction, can Noah save her?
Please hide me.
Find out this week on All My Children.
6 News continues with Karen Rowe, Kevin Doran, and Storm Team 6 with Kevin Gregory.
Karen, here's something we talk about every day.
Oh, yeah.
It is so hard to keep up with the love lives of some of Hollywood's biggest superstars.
It's a big concern for us. As soon as you get a handle on a star's relationship, things seem to change.
I hate that.
But this afternoon on Oprah, some of the biggest names in Hollywood talk about their lives off camera. Sylvester Stallone tells all about his biggest career failures and life as the highest paid actor ever. Oprah says Sly seems pretty comfortable talking about his acting and his movies, but when asked about his love life,
I have to ask you something about your love life. Like, where are you? What's going on?
No, I knew that was coming.
I have
I'm going
to
to keep it simple.
I
Just
did
say
your...
Well, to find out what Sly had to say, you're going to have to watch Oprah this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and that's followed by 6 News at 5 o'clock.
I wanted to hear more.
I know.
There are plenty of pros and cons in sharing the world with man's best friend. One benefit is the unconditional love a dog can provide. But there are some things you have to watch when getting close to your canine companion. Here's Dr. Dina Dell with your Midday Medical Matters.
Dogs can be very good for their master's health. Dogs see to it that their masters get walked regularly. Dogs encourage their masters to participate in sports. Dogs provide their masters with affection and companionship. Dogs even allow their masters to bask in their reflected glory. But life with a dog isn't always a healthy romp in the park. Among other things, dogs do what dogs have to do, and some of what dogs do is, well, dog do. And that, as you can well imagine, can be unhealthy for anyone who comes in contact with it. Whether pedigree poodles or paperless pooches, dogs can often carry intestinal worms called Toxocara canis. Now a new French study is linking human hives called chronic urticaria to these dog worms. Hives are a common itchy nuisance, and usually doctors don't know what causes them. The French researchers were surprised to find that 65% of a group of hives patients tested positive for the dog worm. The good news? When they treated some patients and their pets with deworming drugs, almost 60% were cured or significantly improved. None of the untreated patients improved. Now, this study wasn't large, and more research is needed. But in addition to providing hope for hive sufferers, it should remind anyone exposed to dogs and their deposits to deworm their pets and wash their hands thoroughly after dealing with humankind's best friend. This is Dr. Dina Dell, 6 News Medical Matters.
Nothing to say on that one.
No, we both have dogs.
That's right.
We know
We're
about that.
barely into November, and we've already had the first snow of the season.
Is any more of the white stuff on the way? Kevin Gregory has your forecast. That's coming up next. And then later, if you have a question about a relationship or raising your kids, give Dr. Jonni Gonso a call, 239-6668. Your Midday Family Matters are coming up later on 6 News at midday.
I don't want to have anything to do with Trudy or the baby.
Paternity test results on the next Montel.
Montel at 3, then on Oprah.
We're with Silvester Stallone, Cindy Crawford, Ellen DeGeneres, Luke Perry, and Jean-Claude Van Damme in Beverly Hills. Next Oprah.
Monday starting at 3 on WRTV 6.
Look how much.
I've never seen so much.
It's incredible how much.
Much, much more.
A whole lot more.
Wow, that's a lot more.
Cat's Pride now gives you 40% more scoopable litter for about the same price as the leading national brand, which means Cat's Pride lasts much, much longer.
That's a lot of value.
That's a lot of cat's pride.
A lot of cat's pride.
When you elected me mayor, I promised to create jobs, rebuild our neighborhoods, change the way government works. I believe we've kept that promise. Now, many have suggested that I run for governor. And the fact is, I'm taking a serious look at it. Some of the biggest problems we face, crime, education, welfare reform, need state action. I wanted you to clearly know where I stand before you cast your vote. And I'd appreciate your support for mayor to keep the good things going in Indianapolis.
6 News is closed caption, and that's making a difference for the deaf and hearing impaired. Holder Mattress Factory is proud to sponsor closed captioning on 6 News.
OJ's girlfriend caught on past video making racist statements. See it for the first time on the new A Current Affair.
Monday at 7:30 on WRTV 6. Kevin Gregory's Storm Team 6 forecast has the seal of approval of the National Weather Association.
And Kevin Gregory is here now with our forecast.
What'd you think?
Cold.
Over the weekend was
Nasty.
snow. That was awesome. I still, just like a kid, I mean, I get the
first snowfall, you're right. Yeah.
extra surge of energy. I've got to call someone immediately. Is it snowing at your
Who'd
place?
you call?
I don't remember. Maybe I didn't do it this time.
Should have.
In my mind, I'm thinking, who can I call?
I didn't mean to call your bluff there. Right?
No, but I mean, that's my first thought, is that normally I can remember as a kid, you didn't hear me say this, calling my dad to make sure that he knew that it was snowing and ask him if it was snowing downtown. You have to share that excitement with someone. Now, let's talk about what's happening out there. I can't call my dad anymore, right? Although I do double-check the forecast with him. No, I'm only kidding. 33 was, people
You were
always
in
ask
such
me that.
big trouble.
No, they always ask, do you share information with each other and stuff? And I always joke that we had satellite photographs for our placemats as kids, at the dinner table. 33 on Saturday, that was our high temperature, 21 Saturday morning. The cold this morning, actually a little bit surprising, Sunday morning down to 18 degrees. We did not make it out of the 30s, so when I said we've already accomplished something today that we could not accomplish over the weekend, I was talking about reaching 40 degrees, and that's where we're at right now. Temperatures around the region, Susan Wagner in Bloomington with 39, Weather Watcher reporting in there, Columbus 38. Temperatures northern part of the state, not much different. Clouds are starting to take over now, and that will keep fairly uniform temperatures throughout central parts of the state. Those clouds will lead to some rain overnight tonight. Cloudy and 40 right now, humidity at 64%. Winds are south at 14, and the barometer is falling at 30.11. I'm still thinking in my mind who I should have called, and now I know I should call you, Kevin. Next time that happens, I'm going to call him immediately and make sure he knows what's going on. Clouds are streaming into the state. You can see that happening. Skies were clear overnight last night. That's why another cool morning this morning with temperatures generally in the lower 20s. This area of cloud cover and rain will continue to move to the north. Now, the clouds are here, but the rain is still back in Arkansas and Missouri, so there's a little lag time there. But it looks like periods of rain overnight tonight through tomorrow morning, and then we'll start to dry things out, and then we'll cool off a little bit later in the week, too. Here's the map for tomorrow, 7 a.m., most of the rain off to the east, and then a couple different fronts will move in our direction. Notice the snow showers or snowflakes here, not really in our forecast, but with the cooler air settling in, we could have a flurry or two on the backside of that area of precipitation. So tomorrow, we'll struggle to make 50 degrees, probably won't make it there, colder air on the horizon. Forecast for today, mostly cloudy. Temperature right at 50. We should be there by around 3 o'clock. Winds south 10 to 20 miles an hour. Then overnight tonight, clouds will be with us. Rain becomes likely. Not a solid area of rain, but on again, off again showers. Temperatures, fortunately, in the middle 40s, so we won't have to deal with any tricky travel. Winds out of the southwest keeping temperatures up. We'll look at the 6-day outlook. It does cool off, but nothing real cold.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
In sports, the Indianapolis Colts had a chance to control their own destiny, but ended up giving one away on the field and in the standings. Turnovers plagued the Colts in their bid to take over first place in the AFC East. Indy coughed up the ball 3 times yesterday, handing Buffalo a 16-10 win. Now, last night on Sports Nuts, tight end Kent Dilger talked about the team situation with revolving quarterbacks.
Jimmy's our starter right now, and if he can come back and get healthy, we have a great shot of going to the playoffs and going far there. But I think Craig Erickson is just having a confidence problem right now. He started at the beginning of the season. They paid him big money to come in and win a position when he wasn't having a good game. They brought Jimmy in and he took over the spot.
Colts have now dropped 1 game behind both Buffalo and Miami. Indy travels to New Orleans next Sunday.
Well, the holiday season is fast approaching. Sometimes that can mean a couple of problems with relationships with family members you only see once or twice a year.
But we have some answers to your problems. Call up and talk to Dr. Jonni Gonso at 239-6668 because your family matters on 6 News.
Take your car in for an oil change at some other place, and you never know what to expect. At IndyLube, we'll not only change the oil and filter, we'll check, inspect, fill, sweep, even do the windows. IndyLube, good for a change. Sleek or meek, racy or rugged, taller or smaller. No matter what you drive, bring it to IndyLube for a complete full-service oil change every 3,000 miles. IndyLube, good for a change.
is the Synchrony STS seed and herbicide system. This is the Bean Machine.
Not everyone with an alcohol or drug problem needs hospital treatment. That's why we offer a comprehensive outpatient treatment program during convenient evening hours. And all treatment is personalized to meet the unique needs of each person. Call and ask about outpatient care for the person you know.
For 24-hour help, call 1-800-99-KOALA at Koala Hospitals and Counseling Centers, helping people at 14 locations throughout Indiana.
For nearly 60 years, when they needed information, Hoosiers have turned to WIBC Radio. Today, the news sound of WIBC features the largest, most experienced radio news staff in the state. Add to that, exciting play-by-play coverage of the Colts, the Pacers, afternoons with Dave the King Wilson, and the best sports talk in town. And you have the source for news and information. 1070 WIBC.
239-6668. That's the number to call if you have a question for clinical psychologist, Dr. Jonni Gonso. Dr. Gonso, thanks for joining us, as you do every Monday.
Yes.
Let's go right to the phone lines. Dee, you are on the line live with Dr. Jonni Gonso. What's your question, please?
Hi. I have a teenage son. He's just received his driver's license, and he seems to think that he should be able to stay out past 11, and I think that that is an appropriate curfew for a 16-year-old.
And so your question would be how to agree on the curfew? Or?
Is that an appropriate curfew for a 16-year-old?
What do you think, Dr. Gonso?
Well, Dee, one thing you could do is go with what the legal curfews are, and I believe during the week it's 11 o'clock, and I believe it's 1 o'clock on Friday and Saturday night. So that might be one way to handle it. Another way to handle it would be to look at how he's handled independence in the past and reward him for that, and maybe build up slowly, giving him a half an hour extra at a time. And again, if he handles it and he's on time, maybe you could begin to reward him that way and gradually increase his curfew time as he proves that he can handle it.
You know, at that time in a young person's life, 16, 17, 18, a lot of us, I know I did, I'm asking for more responsibility. Right. And how can we resolve these conflicts? Any advice for parents and their children?
I really say to parents that if the child is handling the responsibility well, to go ahead and keep letting the rope out. If their grades are good, they're on time, they're helping at home. If they are asking for more responsibility but they aren't handling it, then you either have to pull back or stay where you are. So a lot of times the children themselves will give you some indication of what they can really handle.
Okay, 239-6668, that's the number to call in and talk live with Dr. Jonni Gonso. One more question for you. We touched on it briefly coming into the segment. We're approaching the holidays. How real a problem are the blues over the holidays, and how busy do you stay with that?
Actually, I, during the holidays, deal with a lot of families, and most of the time I don't see a lot of problems with it. Typically, it's with the single people, and they maybe have trouble because they're lonely and they don't have places to go. Recently divorced people, also people who have anniversary of deaths and things like that have the hardest time, I think.
Okay. Paul, you're on the line live with Dr. Jonni Gonso. Your question, please?
Good morning, Dr. Gonso. How does one go about selecting a therapist?
Good. We've talked about answering this question for a long time. Paul, thank you very much for the question. What do you think?
Well, I would suggest that maybe you talk with a friend of yours who's had a similar problem, and maybe they have had a therapist that's been successful for them, so they can give you some firsthand knowledge about that. Often going to a doctor, your internist or family doctor, a lot of times they have a good referral basis. There is nothing wrong with interviewing a therapist, to go in and have one appointment, see if you click with that therapist, and
ask a lot of questions.
Exactly.
Okay. We've got one more caller on the line. Darlene, your question for Dr. Jonni Gonso, please.
Hi. My sister and I do not get along, and with the holidays coming up, my parents normally have dinner at their house. and I'm debating on whether to even go to the dinner because of the conflict between my sister and I. How should I handle it? Should I go because of my parents, or should I just stay away because of the conflict?
Okay, thanks, darling. You got a quick answer?
I think you have to look into yourself and ask yourself whether you can be loving on that day. If you think you can handle it and be a good sister and be a good daughter, then by all means go. If you think that you can't handle it, then maybe stay away so that it doesn't create problems for the whole family.
Okay, Dr. Gonso, as always, thank you very much for being with us, and we'll be back with more on 6 News at midday right after this.
Centennial Mortgage Company introduces its holiday home loan program with no payments until March of next year. This limited time offer on many of Centennial's home equity loan products allows qualified homeowners to make no mortgage payments until March of next year. Apply by phone with no application fees, most credit and income accepted. Call Centennial now, because the sooner you call, the sooner you can begin enjoying your payment-free period. So call Centennial now.
If you've been hurt in an accident, stop worrying about what to do next. Call me at 1-800-888